Peace, peace, peace. What's good? I've been working on some things and it's led me to want to share a little bit about the significance, like truly the important significance on following our intuition. I have been through many, as us all, I've been through many, many experiences of things that have happened and things that have also not happened due to me either following or not following my intuition. There's been so many, from little to big, from large to extra large experiences and situations. And it's been on the different sides of the coin where I've paid attention and it's rewarded me, and I realized afterwards how following my intuition led me in a direction that was meant for me, or had a situation happen in a great way because I paid attention to my intuition. And the opposite side of the coin where I didn't pay attention to my intuition and I realized that I had been having a feeling, a sensation, which was my intuition, guiding me either to not do something or to do something, and I either did it or I didn't do it. I did the opposite of what I was already intuitively feeling, and it led me in, maybe it was just a small little slap on the wrist, to a very extreme, to multiple extreme things that changed trajectories in my entire life. One in specific that, again, there's been so many, but there's been one in specific where it was literally the cherry on top of me no longer ever ignoring my intuition, for me to make a solid, I made a bond with myself that whenever I received the feeling that I felt that one time, which is always something that's occurring throughout our lives, the intuition, that intuitive feeling that we feel, whenever I recognize that sensation, that vibration within myself, to never ignore it again. I made a pact with myself. Since that one last experience, which was drastic for me, it literally changed my entire being of who I am. Everything, it changed everything for me. I made a pact with myself, and that's why I'm so big on sharing with others to pay attention to self. Know thyself, to know when it's our intuition speaking and when it's just the mind playing games with us. That's also so important, to know thyself. Because previous to this really huge experience that I had, where I ignored my intuition, I didn't always know when it was my intuition, because I didn't really know thyself. I wouldn't be able to distinguish the difference between my intuition and my mind playing games with me. And that big experience that led me to go within myself to figure out what was going on within me, it helped me now know when it is my intuition. And Our intuition is always the first thing that comes into that first feeling that we get before the mind can start thinking, before the mind can start contemplating, before the mind can start placing fear into us. It's always that first thing that we feel. That's the intuition. The first instinct. That's the intuition. And I know that a lot of times it could be where it doesn't make any sense, or we think it's something that's so insignificant. Like, for example, I've had situations where my intuition, I remember specifically something happened. I had left a glass somewhere on the floor, actually. It was on the floor. And I left it there. And my intuition told me, move it because it could fall and break. And my mind was like, well, it's on the floor. What's gonna happen that it's gonna fall and break? Like, what could happen? So I started questioning my intuition. I started questioning my own higher self, guiding me to move this glass so that it wouldn't break. Because I thought it was something so insignificant, and I tried to make sense of it. That's part one. Don't try to make sense of what you're feeling when it's your intuition guiding you. So I try to make sense of it and convince myself that nothing's gonna happen. So I left it there. Next thing you know, I'm walking by and I forgot within minutes. It's like, how does this even happen that I forgot that it was right there when I had just placed it there? But it happened, and it happens. These things happen. Or I'm walking by and I literally walked right over it and I knocked it over and it broke. I broke it. And there I was, like I always am in every experience, where I always had been in every experience where I ignored that thought, that feeling, that intuitive nudge that told me, move the glass. And there I was, like, not beating myself up literally, but in my head, like, oh my gosh, something told me to move it and I ignored it. And I feel like that could be one of, obviously it's not the worst feeling, but it's not a good feeling to feel when you received the nudge to do something and you ignored it. It's like, I knew I should have done that. I felt I should have done that and I ignored it. And then you have to pay the price of whatever it is, pay the emotion of whatever it is. That's not a good feeling to feel. But there's a but there. The good thing about that is that next time you'll be able to start packing on this knowledge of when you're feeling things. Next time you'll know to relate that emotion, that feeling, that sensation, that nudge within you, to know that that's the intuition guiding you. That's the intuition. When you feel it next time, you're going to pay attention, or you'll pay attention a little bit more. You'll start recognizing that feeling a little bit more. It's like intuitive games. It's like you're building on that muscle of intuition. And the more you build it and the more you build it, the stronger it gets also. But the more familiar you get with what's your intuition and what's the mind playing games. So I also say that to say, I've been through, and I'm sure we all have been, I know that we all have been through situations and experiences where we didn't pay attention to our inner guidance system, our intuition, that was leading us to do something or to not do something, and we didn't pay attention. And then we had to pay the price of whatever it was. I have been through, it could all have always, things could always be worse if we think of it that way. However, the situation that I went through, it was as worse as I needed it to be for me to snap out of how I was living my life, how I was ignoring myself, how I was ignoring my inner guidance, my divine guidance, my spiritual guidance. It was a really, really big lesson, tough lesson for me to experience. It brought me into so much beauty because I chose to learn, I chose to grow, I chose to go within myself, I chose to go inward and figure out so much about myself, so much about not only myself, because as I began to go inward within me, I learned, it connected me with everything outward. I learned so much about the universe itself, of the laws of the universe, the universal laws that we can't go around, we can't dip or dodge, we can't ever get around these universal laws. Going inward, seek within, and you will know without. You will know outside of yourself. And that's what that experience led me into. So regardless of me ignoring my intuition and having to experience something so heavy and so difficult for me to heal from, I chose to go straight directly into all that darkness. And I chose to take whatever time I needed to grow from that, to learn from it, to allow myself to evolve from that situation and that experience. Instead of choosing to be bitter, instead of choosing to just be mad at the world and mad at everyone and choose to never trust anything or anyone ever again, or choose to treat people ugly and choose, I could have chosen to do so much, and I just chose to love on myself more, to learn myself more, to be more in tune with my feelings and be more in tune with my connection with the spiritual world and the connection of the spiritual world within me and my spiritual guidance and my protection. So I am literally never going to stop being so vocal about us paying attention to our intuition and to know thyself, to trust ourselves. That's a huge thing too. We don't know ourselves, and we also don't trust our own selves. Trust in what you feel and when you're feeling it. Trust in what you're being guided into. Trust yourself. Trust yourself. A lot of people don't have a relationship with their own selves. They don't trust their own selves because you say you're going to do something and then you don't do it. That's already creating a subconscious trust issue within your own self, where it's like, well, I might say I'm going to do it, but I might not do it. No, if you say you're going to move something, you say you're going to go and do something, do it. Of course, if don't force yourself to do any of these things, it has to, there's a balance always. There's a fine line. There's always a fine line. But the bigger picture of what I'm saying is to learn to have a honest relationship within your own self, so that you can have a trusting, solid, strong, loyal foundation within your own self. A lot of times you say, I'm not going to put up with that, and then you do. It's like, no, build a good relationship within your own self, where it's like, you know what, I said I wasn't going to put up with that anymore, so I'm not. I'm going to be true to myself. I'm going to be true to what I said I was going to do for myself, for the better good of myself. If you say you're going to do something that you really don't want to do, don't say you're going to do it. Be true to yourself. and be true to your feelings, where if you know you're not going to want to do that, be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself enough to say, no, I don't want to do that. So I'm not going to say I'm going to do it, knowing very well I don't really feel like it. That's how we can start to build a better relationship with ourselves. Start small. Start being honest with yourself. The more honest we are with ourselves, the more that we will receive honesty within others also. The more true we are to ourselves, the more true that we will receive from others to be true to us too. The more that you stick to saying and doing what you say and what you say you're gonna do, or what you're not gonna accept, the more that others will also respect us and our boundaries. And knowing that if she said she's not gonna do that, or she said that she will do that, I know that she will, because she stays true to who she is, and she stays true and honest to herself. Everything starts with self, and everything is everything is connected. Us being true to ourselves and us learning and knowing thyself is connected to our intuition. We have to be connected with ourselves to be able to know that it's our intuition speaking to us, to be able to trust that. To be able to trust that and know, like, no, that's my intuition speaking. That's not somebody else who placed something in my mind thinking for me, or that's not my mind playing games. That's not fear coming into my mind. I'm not acting through fear. I'm acting through the love for my own self. Sometimes our intuition will tell us not to do something, and we'll know if it's from a place of, we'll know that it's not coming from a place of fear to not do it. It's coming from a place of protection to not do it for some reason. Or to maybe just wait and not do it at that moment, because there's going to be a better moment that arises for divine timing for you to do it then. Everything is a part of trusting. Trust that the universe has you and has your back. Trust that there's higher forces surrounding you and knowing your every move and your every thought and your every feeling and every sensation. Trust that you're being guided. Trust that you're being guided and you're being protected. Trust in your own divine protection. Start to trust more. There's so much trust issues everywhere. Why? Because people don't trust their own selves. We don't get what we want, we get who we are. That was in my last message. We don't get what we want, we get who we are. If you are someone who trusts in their own selves, who is honest within their own selves in everything, then you'll get that. You will receive that outside of you. If you're someone who's not trustworthy with what you say you're going to do and you don't do it, then you're going to receive that from others also. We get who we are within. We get who we are within ourselves. So, whenever you feel an intuitive nudge, pay attention. In the smallest ways, it could come to you. And in a really big way, it can come to you. It can come to you in a really big way that's going to save you a lot of heartache. That's going to save you from a lot of trouble. That's going to save you from experiencing many lows. Our intuition is, it's like gold. It's literally, it's not even like gold because it's priceless. It's so priceless. You can go and you can buy gold. We can't go and we can't buy our intuition. We have our intuition. period. It lives within us. It's sparking within us. We just have to brush it up a little bit. Take off that dust. Start taking off those layers of your intuition so it can be a lot more powerful. So it can shine a whole lot brighter. So you can hear it a whole lot more clearly. And so that you can trust it a whole lot more. Much love, much peace. Pay attention to your intuition. Trust yourself, know thyself. And most importantly than anything, love yourself.